Okay, thank you all for your patience. I think we're going to get started today. We have a lot to cover, so I appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us in everyone's busy schedules. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you may happen to be. I'm always surprised and impressed with the international audience that we have in this ongoing webinar series. So thank you all for being here and again taking the time. I know especially as we're approaching some holiday breaks and things like that. Everyone's very busy, so very much appreciate you all being here today for our webinar series. Today, we're going to talk about Jasperactive MOS Online and do a deep dive into that, as well as share some of the exciting new products that are coming in 2021. So there's a lot in the works right now. We've been very, very busy in the last several months here at CCI developing new products and solutions. I'm excited to share them with you, which we'll do towards the end of the presentation. Hopefully you can all see my screen here. If you're unable to, please do mention so in the chat and I'll make sure that we get it addressed. But my PowerPoint slide here should be up for you guys to all see that. And we're going to go ahead and get started just very quickly to cover our agenda. I'm going to spend a few minutes in an introduction this morning just explaining who CCI Learning is. Most of you may be familiar with us already, but if not, I want to make sure that I do share some of that information with you. Then we're going to dive into Jasperactive Microsoft Office Specialist Online, which is our learning solution for Microsoft Office, completely cloud-based, and that's a new product that was released just a couple of months ago, and it's very, very exciting to have it out in the market. We've been getting some great feedback on it. And then towards the end of the presentation, we'll talk about some of the new and upcoming products in 2021. And of course, we'll leave some time for questions and answers at the end as well. Just some quick housekeeping notes here. I ask that unless you're asking me a question or something like that, please do keep your microphone muted. Reason being, just it can sometimes cause distractions for other people. And when you have several individuals on a call, if everyone has their microphones on, it can create some background noise. So please just be conscious of that. That will be moderated as well. There's several members of the CCI Learning team on the call today. They're all monitoring the chat as well. So if you have some questions that you're more comfortable asking via text in the chat, please by all means do, and my colleagues will address them as we move through the presentation. Anything outstanding or anything that requires further clarification, I will also address at the end of the presentation. So very excited to share some new information with you guys today, but I do want to start just by explaining who CCI Learning is for anyone that's not familiar with us. So we're a Canadian technology company. We're located on the west coast of Canada in a city called Langley. We've been in business for about 30 years. And we started as a courseware publisher, so developing traditional textbook-based material for the classroom for products like Microsoft Office and digital literacy. In the last 15 years or so, we partnered with an organization called Certiport. Certiport's a division of Pearson Education, with a focus on industry certifications. So being able to partner with institutions across Canada to introduce industry certifications from vendors like Microsoft and Adobe directly into a learning environment. More recently, in the last couple of years, we decided to bring our course content, our curriculum to life. And so we dove headfirst into the software development world and developed a learning platform called Jasperactive, which is specifically for Microsoft Office, as well as some other products, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation. And of course, there's new ones coming as well. And ultimately, we're just really a bunch of passionate, excitable people who want to be able to bring the best educational solutions possible to the industry. And so excited for you all to be here and learn a little bit more about us if you're not familiar with who we are already. So with that in mind, I just very quickly want to talk about our belief system here. So our mantra at CCI Learning is that every lifetime deserves.
Curtis, you just went mute. Curtis, you're at mute now.
There we go. Did one of my colleagues mute me? Were they getting tired of my voice already?
Me, I promise. I didn't do that.
I don't know, Keith. I'm skeptical. You can all hear me now? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you. So I don't know where it cut out, but I'll just back up to the beginning of this slide. So our mantra at CCI Learning is that every lifetime deserves to be maximized. And we truly apply this in everything that we do. We want learners to work hard and ultimately reach their potential. And we think that every student deserves a fair and equal chance to succeed. So with that in mind, we develop resources specifically catered to meet the learner where they are and help educators deliver that material. This is, of course, more important than ever with the circumstances we've all been facing for almost a year now globally with this crazy pandemic. So, of course, the academic landscape has changed completely. Several of our partners have moved to a completely remote learning system. Many are also using a hybrid model where students are rotating in and out of the classroom and doing some from home. And of course, there's always a concern about student engagement when we're talking about remote learning. If we're talking about high school students or middle school, often they have enough of a hard time paying attention as it is in a regular traditional classroom. So when we move things remote, we have to make sure that we're developing resources that are engaging for students. We also believe that empowering students with future-ready skills is of the utmost importance. So how do we do that? How do we ultimately help students realize and maximize their potential? And we believe that one of the best ways to do that is through industry certification. And so all of our material is directly aligned to the certification exam objectives for Certiport certification exams. So when we talk about Jasperactive Microsoft Office Online in this presentation, know that it's directly aligned to the certification exam objectives for the Microsoft Office Specialist certification exams. Very quickly, I'll introduce some of the team members here today. I'm not going to walk through everybody on this slide, but you can see them all here, and you should be able to see their names in the chat as well. You will see them pop up and respond to your questions and make comments and share feedback and all that kind of stuff. So just know that anyone that you see from the CCI Learning team is fully prepared to jump in and answer your questions. And if they'd like to contribute at some point towards the end as well, by all means, they can jump in on the presentation. But I am your MC and host for today's webinar. Okay, so with that, we're going to go ahead and dive right into Jasperactive Microsoft Office Online. So I'm just going to switch over my sharing here. Just bear with me for one moment. Okay, so you should all be able to see my screen again here, and it should just be a web browser with the Google logo there in the middle. So if you haven't heard of Jasperactive before, as I mentioned at the top of the presentation, this is our proprietary software for teaching students, teaching learners how to use Microsoft Office Specialist. It's directly aligned to the certification exam objectives for the Certiport Microsoft Office Specialist exam, and it's prescriptive. So what that means is that a student enters into the program, they create an account, they take an assessment exam to find out what they know and, more importantly, what they don't know, and then learning is prescribed to each individual. It's all hands-on, meaning that students are actually working within the application as they're learning their skills. So it's a real-world example of learning something and tangibly applying it in the moment. So very, very easy to access Jasperactive, particularly the Microsoft Office online version. So in the last 6 months or 8 months, of course, we had to pivot as an organization. Jasperactive traditionally was an installed version. So you download an exe file, you install it on your device, and then you can utilize it. We recognize that with everything moving remote, there are several challenges with students being able to install software at home, whether that's a hardware equity challenge. Some students have the luxury of having a PC device at home, some do not. In a lot of cases, our particularly school districts are supplying students with low-cost devices like Chromebooks. So we wanted to make sure that software could run on a Chromebook device. So we had to change our development and come up with an online cloud-based solution. So Jasperactive Microsoft Office Specialist Online is a no install version of Jasperactive, meaning it can be used on any device. It utilizes Microsoft Office web apps, which is free for everyone. So that means you don't have to have Microsoft Office installed or Microsoft Office licensing to access it. And it's bite-sized lessons, meaning that we've taken all of the content in Jasperactive and reduced it down to make it a little bit more concise. It still meets all of the exam objectives, but means that it's much more conducive to a remote learning environment. So in order to get started, I'm just going to go to office.com. Now, if you go ahead to office.com, it's going to prompt you to log in with a Microsoft account. If you don't have one, it takes just a few minutes to create and it's free. Once you have a Microsoft account, you can access the web versions of the Microsoft Office applications. So I'm going to go in and access Word. I'm just going to click a new blank document. Now, if you haven't seen web apps before, this is what it looks like. So it looks just like whatever application you're working in this case, Microsoft Office Word. It is a little bit limited in terms of some of the functionality. So it doesn't have all of the same functionality as the traditional installed version, but it does have a good chunk of the different features that you can use within the application. So you can see, again, it's very straightforward in terms of the layout. It looks very similar to the traditional installed version. And you'll notice on my ribbon here, I have a Jasperactive for Office icon. Very easy to get the application. All you have to do is simply go to the Insert tab, click Add-ins, and then this is going to take you to the Microsoft Office Store, where you can add additional pieces or add-ins to your web apps. So if I go to the store here and search for Jasperactive, you see it comes up right there. All I have to do is click Add, and then it's going to automatically add the application into my web apps. So that's how easy it is to get. It takes 2 minutes, very, very simple and straightforward. I'm going to click the application to get started. And you'll see it's loaded here on the side. So welcome to Jasperactive MOS Online. Basically tells us what it is, what to expect. And when we're ready, I click Get Started. This is now going to take us to a login screen. If you have an existing Jasperactive account, you can log in with it here. If you don't, you'll need to create one, but it's very quick and easy. So you can see new user, register here. Let's just go ahead and do it. And we're going to create our Jasperactive profile as a learner. Put in whether or not we're over or under 13, and then sign up with our email. So you can see very straightforward here in terms of profile details, just like anything that you would set up for an account online. Let's do this. You're going to choose your language preference, your country, choose an avatar, and then you can enter in a study group code if you have one. This is something that a teacher typically creates on the Jasperactive backend, the teacher panel, which I will show you, and then provides it to students. So if a student had one here, they could enter it now. If not, they can enter it after they log in as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click Next Step. And actually, I'm going to put my code in there right now. So I've created a code ahead of time. I'm not sure why it's not letting me click that next step here. That's bizarre. Maybe I've missed something in one of the fields. Let me just re-enter something in here. There we go. I think I just didn't like when I had entered for my username at first. Okay, so then we have some security questions. I'm just going to answer these all quickly. And this is, of course, for password recovery. And then you'll enter your passwords. And this is a password we're creating here. Then we have our end user license agreement. So I'm going to scroll down and agree to that. Click next step. And now my profile has been created. So let's get started. At this point, I would now be able to log into my account. So it's going to automatically log me in, prompt me for my group code. Again, this is something the teacher creates and provides to students. And then when I click join, you can see it says success. It's been saved. I can continue. And now Jasperactive has unlocked. So there's a benchmark, lessons, create project, summary assessment, and ebook. These are essentially all of the steps or components of Jasperactive. The first thing I'll point out is the ebook. This is our traditional book-based material in ebook format, which has been embedded directly into Jasperactive. So if I click the ebook icon, it's going to open up our book for Microsoft Word. You can see all the different lessons here and modules. So if I wanted to, I could read through a particular section of the ebook or reference it at any time before actually diving into the hands-on pieces of the application. And you'll find throughout Jasperactive, there's a book icon that will automatically open up that particular section of our ebook. So you'll see that, for example, when I'm looking in one of the exercises, there's a book icon I can click on and it will open up that section of the ebook. So at any time, if I like learning from a textbook, I can go in and read the ebook material there. The benchmark exam is an assessment exam, which is the experiences when they enter Jasperactive. It's very similar to what the student would experience on the certification exam in terms of the topics that are covered. And the idea here is, we don't necessarily expect students to score 100% or score well on it. The idea is we want to find out what do they know, what do they don't know, so that we can prescribe learning to them, which appears in the lessons after that. It's also good for them to have an understanding of where their skill set lies in terms of looking at the exam objectives. After that, you have your lessons. That's where all the skills and concepts are introduced. And again, there's two types of exercises there. There's the hands-on exercises, which I'll show you, and then there's some simulations as well. The Create project allows the student to take all of the knowledge that they've learned through the lessons, exercises, modules, and apply it in a project that's interesting to them. So basically, we give a list of parameters that we want them to follow. They can take that offline if they want, create a document, come back in, basically drag and drop it in here, and it's automatically graded. And then at the end, we have a summary assessment. So once again, we're taking all the knowledge that we've learned through the learning material and applying it in a final assessment. The purpose of that, of course, is to determine that the student was able to close any skills gaps they had after the benchmark exam, and that they're ultimately prepared for the certification exam. So you'll notice that the lessons, create project, and summary assessment here are locked. The reason for that is I haven't taken the benchmark yet. So I need to go into the benchmark exam and have that experience so that the prescriptive learning piece kicks in and then can unlock the other sections. So let's go ahead and look at the benchmark. So it tells me I've got 30 minutes and basically just explains to me what to expect here. And then when I'm ready, I click start. The idea here is the benchmark is to be done in one sitting. Okay, so it's going to open up a template file for me. And now I'm going to be working in this document. You can see that I have my questions down here. Some of them will have multiple steps. I've got 20 questions. So clear the formatting for the entire document. Select the easy chicken pot pie recipe title and apply the heading 1 style. So let's just go ahead and do that one exercise here. Okay, so I've completed that. And when I'm ready, I will click submit and move on to the next question. So this one says use the format painter. Using the format painter, apply this style to the remaining recipe titles. I'm not going to go through and do this for every question, but you get the idea. So it's a hands-on application of particular features within web apps. And again, this is a live version, so I can click anywhere in here and work through it to get to the answer. One other thing I want to show you, and this is relevant and applies to all sections of Jasperactive. It is compatible with browser-based versions of Immersive Reader. So if you're not familiar with Immersive Reader, this is a tool that can read text out to students. So a great resource for the classroom and of course for any students that struggle in that area. and very, very easy to do as long as you download the Immersive Reader add-in for Chrome, for example, which is free. It takes just a moment to get if you search online for it. You can simply highlight the text, right-click, and click Help Me Read This. And it will open up in a new window.
Using the format painter.
And questions to you. So just a side note that this is compatible with Immersive Reader and other screen readers like that software. Okay, so I'm ready. I'm going to go ahead and click Submit. And I'm actually just going to skip all of these. So I've finished the benchmark. Of course, I only answered the first question, which you can see here that I got it correct. So there's a green check mark. Everything else I did not answer, so they're marked as incorrect. And here's one example of where that ebook icon appears. So if, for example, I struggled with use the format painter and I want to immediately be able to see how do you do that again, I can click the ebook icon. This will open up in front of me. That scrolling that's happening is automatic. So it's taking me right to the section of our ebook where that particular feature is introduced. So using the format painter, and then here's our instructions on how to do it. So a great quick reference for a student when they complete the benchmark exam. When I'm ready to move on, I click Finish and go back to my dashboard. So now these other sections have unlocked, as you can see. If I click on Lessons, here are the different topics or different lessons within the Word application. Let's go ahead and look at Managing Documents, which is one of the first ones here. And you'll see there's two different types of exercises. So there's basic exercises and advanced exercises. Basic exercises utilize the web apps environment. So that means that I'm working live in web apps. The advanced exercises are simulations. Now, the reason why we've broken out our exercises in these two different formats is, as I mentioned earlier, the web apps version of Office is a light version in comparison to the install version. So there are some things that are on the certification exam that aren't necessarily in the web apps version of Office. So in order to address that, we've created simulated exercises. So I'll show you what both of them look like, but just know that's the reason why we have two different types of exercises here. So let's look at the first one, learn to find text for further action. So in this exercise, you will search for text in a 3-page document to help you determine why the document is so long. You will turn on the formatting marks and then search for a name. So I'll click Start. Okay, so question 1 of 1, we are going to find a person. Again, our ebook icon is here, so I can click that. It will open up that section of our ebook. Of course, there's no timer now because we're not being assessed, in an exam type environment. We're going to follow through step by step, and Jasperactive is going to introduce to us these skills and concepts. So this document is 3 pages long, and you want to see how it was set up. On the Home tab, click the More Options button on the right side of the ribbon. And note, if you do not see the More Options, that's the 3 dots there. So it gives you some extra instructions on how to find that, which is basically just here. And we're going to click Show Hide, which is the next step. So now scroll through the document. You can see how the paragraph marks were entered. Yeah, we can see that there. Now you want to find information for Andrew McSweeney, but you're not sure which page has this information. Instead of scrolling up and down in the document, use the Find feature. So on the Home tab, click the Find button. And in the search field, type Andrew. So there we go. It's found that in the document. It's taken us back now. And if I go back to my instructions, it basically explains what we're seeing. So what's changed? It's taken us to this selection. And it says click the occurrence below the search field. So we've done that already here. Click in the document where the occurrence is to turn off the gray highlight where it still keeps the search criteria highlighted in yellow. We can see that there. To remove the search criteria, click the X at the end of the search criteria. Okay, so we'll go back to our search and we'll just click the X. There we go, and then we'll go back to Jasperactive. So now change the search to find Nick Klassen. We're going to type Nick in the search criteria and then press Enter. There's Nick. And we'll go back to Jasperactive. And now the final step here, close the search task pane by clicking the X at the top right of the pane, right here. There we go. So that's our first question. I'm going to go ahead and submit that. And then finish. Shows that we answered it correctly. Of course, if I had missed a step, if I had done something incorrectly, it would show up with a red X and I would be able to go back in and try again. In this case, I answered it correctly, so I'll click finish and now I'll go back to my lessons. So now you can see that we have a green circle here indicating that I've answered that section correctly and my lesson progress has been updated with 20%. So that's what a basic exercise is like. It utilizes the web apps environment and gives you step-by-step instructions. You can click through until you get to the answer. The advanced exercises, as I said, are simulations. So let's go back and look at all of our lessons here. And I'm going to skip down and go to Insert Format Graphic Elements. And we're going to look at advanced exercises. So let's do learn to insert a screenshot and screen clip. So here's our instructions on the right-hand side. And again, it's going to be a simulation exercise. So I'm going to click the play button in the middle here to get started. And when we're ready, we click start. And so now we're going to go through step by step. So insert a screenshot. This feature is very advantageous when you need to capture the entire screen. We're going to click view, click switch windows, click document 5. So let's go view. There we go. You can see the screen's automatically updating. Again, this is a simulated Office Web Apps environment here. Click the insert tab. Oh, sorry, we've got to click switch windows first. Where are we here? There we go. And we're going to go to document 5. Click the insert tab and click screenshot. Click the children's party notice form, which is the first image option. So let's do that. Click file and then click close. Click don't save to close this document. Now, the exercise won't progress until you answer these steps correctly. So the reason why it's moving forward is because I'm clicking the right spots. If I'm clicking in an incorrect place, it won't move forward. So you have to ensure that you're following the steps correctly in order to move forward through the exercise. So the second piece of this, insert a screen clip. Click the insert tab, click the screenshot arrow, and then click screen clipping. So insert tab, screenshot, and screen clipping. And now it's going to automatically show how the screen clipping feature works. So this is a video that's playing right now. I'm not controlling that. And it shows us how to highlight, select something, and then paste it in. So now it says you've successfully finished your lesson. Do you want to restart? At this point, I could go back and try again if I answered something incorrectly or if I was wanted a refresher. But I'm ready, so I'm going to click finish. And then I'm going to go back to my lesson. So once again, you can see this is now updated with a green circle and my lesson progress at 17%. So that's how the lessons work. That's how the learning material works. 2 different types of exercises. Again, basic exercises that utilize the web apps environment. You can click around, and then the advanced exercises which are simulation based. Do all of the different lessons in Jasperactive until I answered all of the content correctly. The idea here is we want students to get 100%, meaning that they eventually get to the right answer on everything, because that's ultimately what's going to help them learn and then prepare them for the certification should that be what they're pursuing. Let's look at the Create project. So in this exercise, you will use your creativity and knowledge to solve a real-world problem. So it basically gives us the scope of the project here. And it gives us some step instructions to prepare our document to get ready. When we're ready, we click start, and now it's going to give us a project brief. So there's a project specification listed here. In this case, it's telling us we are going to, or we've been given the task of creating a report on how we can protect our online profile. So that's going to be the context for this exercise. And then the final report should include these requirements. So it gives us a list of the things that we need to address within our document. When we're ready, we click Get Started, and then these are all the parameters that we have to follow when creating our document. Now you'll notice that these are less specific than what you would have seen in the learning materials, so, or on the assessment. So for example, we're going to ask the student to use a bulleted or numbered list, but we don't tell them where in the document to do it, or what type of numbered or bulleted list to use, or what content to use that bulleted list with. The idea here is we want them to be able to use the feature of the application, but we're creating a real world document. So they're going to apply that where in the document they think it would be relevant or make sense. And this allows for some creative freedom, of course. It makes it a little bit more exciting and personal to the student as they work through it. Once the student goes through and answers or includes all of these different pieces and they've completed their full project file, they hit the complete project button and it will submit it. So the way this works is basically they can come in and open the document they've been working on, click complete project, and then it's going to submit it and automatically grade it. In this case, of course, I have a blank document in front of me, so I've answered with 0 out of 10. It shows us the pieces that we answered correctly or incorrectly. You can see that grading is instantaneous, and when we're ready, we click finish to move on. I can go back into the create project and try this again, by the way. So if I did submit and I missed, let's use that same example of the bulleted list. If I missed that, I can come back in, edit my document to include that, resubmit it, and then get my new mark. So students can go and do that as many times as they need to. The final step of Jasperactive MOS Online is a summary assessment. So this is, once again, an assessment very similar to the benchmark, a little bit more concise. I would say probably a bit more difficult. But it's kind of the same idea. And what we're ensuring here is that the student has learned everything they needed to learn through the lessons and learning material. And they've been able to documents as they've worked through so that they're fully prepared to move on to the certification exam if that's what they're going to pursue. If not, we just want to ensure that they've learned everything they needed to learn through the content. So final assessment, I won't go through and answer all of this, but you can see it's very similar format. In this case, we have 30 minutes and 12 questions. So I'm just going to skip through these questions here to submit it. And some of them have multiple steps, as you can see. Like I said, this is a little bit more difficult than the benchmark exam. Okay, so we'll submit. It's going to grade it. Once again, I scored 0 because I didn't answer any of these. The ebook icon, once again, is here as well. So if there was something I missed, inserting a footnote, for example, I click the ebook icon. It opens up that section of our book. Here it is. I can read through it and go back in and retry the exam at some point if I'd like. I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and now you can see I have a check mark there as well. So that's a very quick look at Jasperactive MOS Online from the student perspective. In summary, you start with a benchmark assessment exam to determine what you need to learn. You go into the prescriptive learning through the lessons where skills and concepts are introduced in a basic exercise format, which is utilizing the web apps environment, and an advanced exercise format, which is a simulation. Then once the student works through all of that, they move into the create project, which is a creative project that they can take offline, work on as long as they follow a list of parameters we provide, and they come back in, upload it for marks. And then finally, there's a summary assessment that's a more difficult assessment exam at the end that ensures that they've learned everything they need to throughout the application. The ebook is available for reference at any time for students that want to review individual sections, or if they want to read a lesson before they go into that lesson's content, they certainly can. So that's the student side of Jasperactive MOS Online. I'm going to show you very quickly the instructor side as well. So I'm just going to head to the Jasperactive site. And I'm going to log into my teacher account. Okay, so this is the teacher panel for Jasperactive. There's a few different areas here. I'm going to show you just some of the key ones really quickly. So the groups manager is where you create access for students. You can see there's an add new group button. Basically, I come in here, enter in my group name, a description if I'd like, I choose my expiration date, so my start date and my finish date, and then I choose the courses that I'd like. The best way to think about Jasperactive MOS Online, if you're familiar with the traditional installed version of Jasperactive, the best way to think about the online version is that it's separate courses. So you can see here there's courses for Office 2013, Office 2016, Office 2019, and then Microsoft Office Online. That is the Jasperactive MOS Online. So if you're going to be utilizing the online platform, what you want to do is come in here and create your course for Microsoft Office Online. Once I create my group, it takes 10 seconds to do. The screen refreshes and provides me with a group key. That's what I give to my students to allow them to access Jasperactive MOS Online. It's very straightforward. Once you're in here, you can also look at your existing groups. So in chronological order here, you can see the groups that you've created. And you can edit some of the details for them. So for example, if I pop into this one here, I can see the group key, I can see when it expired, I can see the courses that were included, I can see the group students that were enrolled, when they enrolled. I could remove them from the group. I can reset their benchmark for them here. By the way, you can also help them reset their passwords. So when students inevitably forget their password information, you can come in here and help them reset it. You can change some of the rubrics. You can customize how much time they have on the benchmark or the assessment exam. So a lot of stuff you can do in terms of managing your students is done within the Groups Manager area. The Reports area allows you to run reports on applications and student groups. So I'm going to click Word Online and just quickly show you how robust some of these reports can be. So I've clicked on this group here. You can see each individual student enrolled in that group, their overall progress in the course, their email. You can see their score on the benchmark exam, the create exercise, and the summary assessment at the end. And these also open as links. So if I wanted to click this, for example, it actually opens up their results in a separate window. And then we can drill down even further. So if I click on a student's name, it will show me by lesson their progress. So here are all the different lessons. I can see their overall progress in each of them. If I click on the lesson, we can drill down even further. So we can see the individual objectives, the percentage of correct marks. How many times did they practice? So how many times did they go into that exercise? When was the most recent result? And we can even expand down further for those that have multiple steps. And we can see if they answered, or which steps they answered correctly and which they answered incorrectly. This is all, of course, exportable as well. So there's an export view in which you can run this report and export it out into a CSV file or a PDF or whatever you'd like. So some really great and robust reporting features are built in here as well. One final thing that I want to show you that I think is really useful when you're teaching this is the teacher resources. So we've put a lot of time and effort into developing these, and they certainly will aid in your delivery of the program. So all you do is come in and select your course. I'm going to choose Word Online, and here are all the different pieces that are included. You can download a zip file that contains all of these, which I've actually done ahead of time. And so it looks like this when you download it. Let me just drag this over here. So this is our zip file, and this is everything that is contained within the Instructor Resources. So first we have the student data files. That is, any project file or exercise the student works on in Jasperactive MOS Online is contained here. The completed data files are the completed versions of those exercises, so that's also included. Lesson notes. We have a note file here for every lesson. This is really cool. I'm going to open it up so you can see. So we provide a document that basically explains by lesson all of the certification exam objectives that are introduced, the exercises, and ultimately how much time we recommend that the student spends on this. So we get a lot of questions around, well, how much time for the course, or, what would you expect it would take a student in order to work through this? We've done a lot of the work for you, and, of course, these are just guides. This can be stretched or condensed as you need, but certainly we've produced some guides that you can follow. In this case, you can see here the total recommended time for this particular exercise is 1 to 2 hours. So we've done that for every lesson within Jasperactive. We also have a guide here that just explains how to use the teacher resources. So if you come in and download this and you're not really sure how to navigate the teacher resources, we've included a step-by-step guide that explains all of the different pieces that are included and how to use them. There's a mapping document as well here. So this is the certification exam objectives and where they're found within Jasperactive MOS Online. So if you're providing your learners with the opportunity to certify, or maybe you're preparing to certify yourself, this shows you all of the certification exam objectives and where they're found in Jasperactive MOS Online. There's a timing summary here as well. So again, we give a recommended time for each section of Jasperactive for each course. There's an in-app exercise mapping. So once again, this is for the individual exercises and their mapping to the certification exam objectives. And then there's also a syllabus at the end here as well. So a lot of work has gone into developing these teacher resources. A lot of that was based on customer feedback. So please, if you're offering Jasperactive MOS Online, make sure you come in and download the teacher resources, because they will make the lives of your educators a little bit easier when it comes to delivering this material. Okay. That's everything I wanted to show you for the deep dive of Jasperactive MOS Online. We're going to move on, and I'm going to talk about some of the new products that are coming down the line, and then we'll answer some questions as well. So just give me one moment just to switch over my sharing here. Okay. Go. Oops. So you should all be able to see the PowerPoint again.
Yes, yes.
Perfect, thank you. The first thing I'll mention before I move on to our updates is that we have some amazing support resources available online for Jasperactive. Much of what I've covered today, you can find support articles on if you head to support.jasperactive.com. So if you do have Jasperactive questions related to content, or how do I do this, or how do I access this, the support site would be a great place to start. If you go in there, you can just punch in your topic and it will come up with some search results for you. So we put a lot of work into that site as well. So there's some great resources available on there. All right. Let's talk about new updates. So very, very excited to be able to talk about some of this. So first and foremost, the Excel Expert course is coming to Jasperactive MOS Online on December 15th. So just around the corner here. We're putting a lot of resources into this product. So we're going to be releasing several applications, and in the coming months here, certainly you'll see more developments within Jasperactive MOS Online, the first of which is Excel Expert December 15th. For those of you that are familiar with our Jasperactive platform that utilizes or delivers learning material on Jasperactive Digital Literacy and Jasperactive QuickBooks, we are doing a user interface update to that particular site, which will include some updates for reporting and for class management and things like that. That is coming sort of any day, to my understanding, some point this month. So very excited to share that as well. There is a teacher panel update coming in January for Jasperactive, the traditional installed version of Microsoft Office, and the Jasperactive Microsoft Office Specialist Online. So I just showed you the teacher panel. We're going to be adding some new features to that. One of the great things about working so closely with all of our partners and customers is that we get feedback all the time, and we want to constantly evolve the product based on educator feedback, because this was really developed for educators. So you'll see a teacher panel update next month that will reflect some of that feedback. And then we're also adding the Word Expert course into Jasperactive MOS Online in January as well. So we are all hands on deck at CCI Learning right now, developing new material, and these are some of the updates to our existing products that are coming. Now I want to talk briefly about new products that are coming. So very excited. We haven't been able to talk about any of this publicly yet, but I'm happy to share it now. We are full steam ahead in developing new products within the Jasperactive environment. So one of the new products that we're working on is Jasperactive Business Pro. We've partnered with the International Business Training Association to introduce some of their certification programs and learning programs into the Jasperactive environment. So these are going to cover, you know, anything that a learner would take in sort of a business professional program, things like general customer service, project management, sales, business communication, business etiquette. We are planning to launch probably with about 5 different courses under that Business Pro umbrella. It is heavy in development right now, so just be patient for that one, but very, very excited to share that because we've been getting a lot of questions about that. You know, traditionally we've developed material on tools specifically, right? So here's Microsoft Office tools, here's you know, QuickBooks tools, software tools. This one is a little bit different in the sense that we're talking more about soft skills. We're talking more about an all-encompassed package for a business professional. So we've had a lot of questions about that. Very, very excited to be able to share that we have this partnership with the International Business Training Association, and we're developing a Jasperactive business professional program that would be everything your learner would need to be a business professional. The next one, this is also brand new development. We are working on Adobe products within Jasperactive. So we've been getting a lot of questions about this from customers too. This is Jasperactive Adobe Create. The first application we're starting with is Photoshop, and it's going to be live in application, meaning that the student's actually working live in Photoshop as Jasperactive introduces skills and concepts to them. This is really our first big foray into the design world, so we're very, very excited to be working on that product, and I suspect that we'll see several applications follow after Photoshop, but that's one we're starting with because that's the biggest. So more news on that coming soon, but very excited about Jasperactive Adobe Create. And then finally, we are able to offer the project management certification or PMI specifically in Canada. So for any of our Canadian partners that are on the call, we represent Certiport for their certifications in Canada. And one of the brand new certifications, which is being released this week, is the PMI or Project Management Certification. You will be able to obtain this through CCI Learning. This is another one that we get questions about all the time. When are you guys coming out with a Project Management Certification? So happy to announce that it is coming this week and will be readily available to any of our in Canada. For those of you that are Certiport customers, you know, outside of Canada, you'll have access to this as well. So if you go directly to Certiport, you'll be able to access the project management certification as early as this week. Okay, so that was everything I wanted to address. I think I'm almost right on time, which I'm very impressed with myself for that because I tend to talk a lot. I'm going to just stop sharing my screen here and pop back into the chat. I'm going to quickly look through there to see if there's any questions that are outstanding, but I'm happy to answer questions from people as well through the audio. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask me that you haven't asked in the chat, or you'd like to just reiterate it through the audio, by all means, feel free and just put your hand up there in the Teams chat, and we'll make sure that we unmute you so you can ask your questions.
Hey, Chris, almost all the items in the chat have been addressed, but a couple, this looks like a couple just came in.
Okay, great. So we have a question from Eva here. Are there any updates on MOS certification online and improvements being made? So I think you're referring to the exams from home solution from Certiport. I don't have any specific updates in terms of what they're working on for development. I suspect there'll probably be some announcements in the coming month or two related to that. But as of right now, I know that most recently they've just added dates, scheduling dates for exams for January and February. So we're booking now into the next couple of months. And specifically for the Microsoft Office Specialist exam through the Exams from Home system, we've had a lot of success. It's been running very smoothly. It's been running really well. We have some customers in Canada who put through a very, very high volume of certification exams that transitioned from the traditional install version to the online version and are finding a lot of success. So, very excited about the Exams from Home solution as always, hoping that we get some more announcements from Certiport on what the longevity of that platform looks like. But as of right now, it's continuing business as usual. Okay, I'm just scrolling through the chat here. Yeah, there was a question from Lena. It looks like Keith already answered it, but I'm just going to reiterate that here for anyone who's maybe not following the chat. So there was a question, can I create the same group for Office 2016 and for online? The answer is yes. So you're able to create a group for any of the applications that we offer within Jasperactive. Obviously, from an administrative standpoint, it's easier just to create one group code. So certainly you can do that for any of the courses, and then students can use whichever courses you'd like them to within that group code. So a comment here, just in regards to the differences between the traditional installed version and the online version. So from a technical standpoint, the differences are, of course, that the install version requires an install. It also requires an installation of Microsoft Office. So, for example, if you're running through Jasperactive Office 2016, you need Microsoft Office 2016 and a specific version of it installed on your device. With Jasperactive MOS Online, there's no install required. You don't need Microsoft Office installed. You don't need to install Jasperactive. You just have to get the add-in for your apps. So from a technical standpoint, that's the primary difference there. In terms of the content, Jasperactive, the installed version, focuses on the installed version of Office, which is more robust than the web apps version of Office. So I would say there's a little bit more content there. And it's also live in application, meaning that all of the exercises that you're doing are live in the installed version of Microsoft Office that you have on your device. The online version utilizes web apps, utilizes all the features in web apps, and then uses advanced exercises, which are simulation based, because of the point you've highlighted here, that Microsoft Office web apps doesn't have all of the same functionality as the traditional installed version. So basically, web apps was created specifically to cater to those that are utilizing a remote learning environment or are unable to get software installed on their devices. We know everybody's IT teams are swamped right now. So sometimes, the path of least resistance is to use the web apps version. It does cover all of the same objectives. It just does it in a slightly different format. So the installed version, we can do that all live in application. With the web apps version, we can do some live in application and then some through simulation. Just scrolling through the last comments here. There you go. Keith just posted a great FAQ there as well, so you can follow that in the chat to answer some of those types of questions. Happy to answer anything additional here. We've got a few minutes left, but I'm happy to stay on and answer any questions if anyone would like to ask them after the hour here. Looks like there's still quite a few people on the call, so if you do have questions, please don't be shy.
Hey, Curtis, I will say from a technical support and deployment perspective, the immersive reader and read aloud option that's an understatement to say that is being well received. To have accommodations, And then I noticed you emphasized it when you were going through the teacher resources, but the idea of moving from a 40-hour course to a 15-hour course, there are a lot of teachers concerned about their students being behind and scrambling with all the pivoting that's going on by everyone. And so that 15-hour course component is being well received as well.
That's great. That's really good feedback. Yeah, I mean, I think, there's so many challenges with the circumstances that we're facing in the academic space right now that I definitely think that's a really good point. Sometimes a lighter version that still covers all of the objectives, but in less time is crucial in times like these. So yeah, great feedback. Okay, looks like everyone has asked the questions they need to. I think we're okay to go ahead and conclude the meeting here, but I will stay on for a few more minutes. So if there are any questions that sort of trickle in here, by all means, happy to stay on and answer them. But at this point, we'll conclude the meeting unless you'd like to stay on to answer some additional questions. Thank you, everyone, for your time. I hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and we look forward to chatting with you soon.